My child, in this moment of stillness, I see you. The weight you carry has carved valleys across your shoulders, invisible to the world but as real as stone. In the quiet hours before dawn, when sleep becomes a stranger and thoughts circle like restless birds, your whispered prayers have risen to me like incense through the darkness. Every tear that fell in solitude left ripples across eternity. Each one caught, held, treasured in vessels you cannot yet see. The battles you fought behind closed doors, wrestling with shadows that had no name, gripping fears that wrapped around your chest like thorns. I witnessed them all, not from some distant throne, but here, closer than your own breath, feeling the tremor in your spirit as you wondered if morning would bring relief. The landscape of your life has become a canvas of waiting. Days blend into nights where hope flickers like a candle fighting wind. You have asked why doors close just as your fingers brush their handles, why opportunities dissolve like mist at the very moment of reaching. In your heart echoes the question that so many before you have carried: have I been forgotten? Listen closely, beloved one. The very breath you draw in this moment carries more than oxygen. It carries promise, for I am shifting the current of your bloodline, redirecting rivers that have run dry for generations. Where scarcity carved its signature into your family's story, abundance is already beginning to flow. Though your eyes may not yet perceive its approach, picture a garden long dormant, soil cracked and yearning. Beneath that hardened surface, seeds of destiny lie waiting. Not dead, merely sleeping. And now in this sacred moment the first drops of celestial rain begin to fall. You cannot see the roots awakening underground, cannot witness the molecular dance of life returning. But the transformation has already begun. The one who opposes me has watched this moment approaching with growing unease. He has seen the mark upon your life, the seal I placed there before time began its dance. His strategy has been simple: convince you that closed doors mean rejection, that silence means abandonment, that struggle means judgment. But he speaks only in shadows, and shadows flee when light arrives. Those opportunities that seem to slip through your fingers, I close them, not as punishment, but as protection. Each one would have led you down paths that appeared golden at the entrance, but turned to ash halfway through. I am not a God who delights in withholding, but one who knows that timing is the difference between a blessing and a burden. The right gift at the wrong moment becomes a weight too heavy to bear. But today, the celestial clock strikes a new hour. The waiting was not wasted, it was preparation. Like a master chef who will not serve a dish until each flavor has reached perfection, I have been preparing something extraordinary for you. The ingredients of your pain, your patience, your persistence, all measured precisely, all necessary for what emerges now. Resources will begin to flow from directions you never anticipated. A conversation with a stranger plants seeds of opportunity. A forgotten connection resurfaces with exactly what you need. An idea arrives in the space between sleeping and waking, carrying solutions to problems that seemed insurmountable. These are not coincidences scattered by chance. They are provisions placed deliberately along your path by hands that have never stopped working on your behalf. Watch how the atmosphere around you begins to shift. Where heaviness once pressed against your chest, you will find breath coming easier. Where confusion clouded decisions, clarity emerges like sun breaking through storm clouds. The spiritual climate of your life is changing because I am changing it. Season by season, layer by layer, your words carry power you have not yet understood. When you speak what I speak, creation itself leans in to listen. The same voice that called galaxies into existence echoes in your declarations. This is why the enemy has worked so diligently to fill your mouth with doubt, to twist your tongue toward complaint, to redirect your words toward defeat. He knows that when you align your speech with heaven's vocabulary, mountains begin conversations about moving. Say it now, even if your voice shakes: I am favored. Let the words roll across your tongue like honey, sweet with promise. I am free from burdens. Feel how the syllables themselves seem to lift weight from your shoulders. I am walking in my season of abundance. Notice how speaking these truths makes your spirit stand a little taller, as if remembering a posture it was designed to hold. These are not mantras borrowed from self-help philosophies. They are not positive thoughts painted over negative realities. They are spiritual coordinates, positioning statements that align your life with realities already established in realms you cannot see. When you speak them, you are not trying to create truth. You are agreeing with truth that already exists. The blessing approaching you has been tailored specifically to your dimensions. It will not fit anyone else quite the same way. Others may look at what you receive and wonder why it brings you such joy, not understanding that I designed it, knowing every corner of your heart, every specific longing you carried in secret, every prayer you thought went unheard. Those who mocked your faith will find themselves mysteriously silent, not because you will need to defend yourself, but because the evidence of my hand upon your life will speak louder than any argument. They will watch transformation unfold in your circumstances and find themselves without explanation, except perhaps to whisper, "Surely God is in this." I am not simply adding to what you have. I am multiplying it. The lunch that should have fed one will satisfy many. The opportunity meant for a moment will extend into a season. The connection intended for a single purpose will blossom into a network of provision. This is the mathematics of heaven, where blessing defies earthly calculation. But hear me clearly, this abundance comes with purpose. You are not being enriched for isolation but for impact. The channels of blessing flowing to you are meant to flow through you. As you receive with one hand, prepare to release with the other, not from obligation or guilt, but from the joy of participating in heaven's economy, where generosity creates capacity for greater generosity. The very fact that you have continued reading these words reveals something significant. In a world of endless distractions where 1,000 voices compete for attention, your spirit recognized the frequency of my voice. This recognition itself is a gift, evidence of connection that many spend lifetimes seeking. You have not stumbled upon these words by accident. This is our appointed meeting, scheduled before calendars were invented. Night seasons have served their purpose in your life. They taught you to navigate by faith when sight failed. They developed in you a sensitivity to my whisper that prosperity alone could never produce. They carved out spaces in your soul that only my presence can fill. But sunrise approaches, beloved one, and with it comes a warmth you had almost forgotten existed. Your family will notice the change first, a lightness in your step, a brightness in your countenance that makeup cannot manufacture. They will ask what has shifted, and you will struggle to explain how everything and nothing has changed simultaneously. How you are still you, but more yourself than ever before. How circumstances may look similar, but the entire atmosphere has transformed. I am restoring lost years, but not by turning back time. Instead, I am condensing into your present season the harvests of many seasons. What should have taken decades will unfold in moments. What others labored generations to build, you will receive as inheritance. This is not injustice. This is the law of acceleration that governs spiritual seasons. The prayers of your ancestors, those men and women who knew my name and called upon it in their own wilderness seasons, their intercessions did not evaporate into nothingness. They have been stored waiting for a generation that would position themselves to receive the accumulated answers. You are living in the convergence of their faith and your availability. Picture them now, these cloud of witnesses whose names you may never know. A grandmother who prayed over bread she could barely afford to bake, speaking abundance over future generations even as scarcity sat at her table. A father who worked soil that seemed cursed, yet planted seeds of faith deeper than any crop, declaring that his children's children would eat from tables he could only imagine. Their prayers rose like incense, collected in golden bowls that tipped now toward earth, ready to pour out answers decades in the waiting. You carry their DNA not just in your cells but in your spirit. The faith that sustained them through famines flows in your veins. The hope that helped them survive oppression lives in your breath. You are not starting from zero. You are building on foundations laid with tears and midnight prayers, with bent knees and raised hands, with whispered promises claimed in darkness. The enemy wants you to believe you stand alone, that your story is isolated, disconnected from the greater narrative I am writing. But you are a chapter in an epic that spans generations. The blessing approaching you carries compound interest from investments of faith made before you drew your first breath. Heaven's accounting includes every prayer prayed over your bloodline, and the books are about to balance in your favor. Do not despise the simplicity of what I ask from you. Trust seems too basic when the mountains before you appear so complex. But trust is the master key that unlocks doors of every size. Your willingness to believe, even when belief feels fragile as spider's silk, creates pathways for my power to flow. Consider how light travels. It does not force its way through obstacles, but finds every opening, every crack, every space where darkness has not sealed itself completely. Your trust creates such openings, each moment you choose to believe despite circumstances that scream otherwise. You create another pathway for heaven's light to penetrate earth's darkness. The realm of the spirit operates on different physics than your visible world. Here, the last become first, the weak confound the strong, and mustard seeds of faith move mountains that bulldozers cannot budge. When you align yourself with these laws, what seems impossible in the natural becomes inevitable in the supernatural. The breaking you experienced was not my judgment, but my mercy. Like a seed that must split open for life to emerge, your hard places had to crack so that what I planted deep within could finally grow. What felt like destruction was actually construction, though the blueprint was hidden from your eyes. This abundance I speak of will not arrive as you expect. It rarely does. My methods often confound human logic because I delight in demonstrating that provision is not limited to paychecks and predictable sources. I own cattle on 1,000 hills, and I know which one to send your way at exactly the right moment. Some will question your sudden shift. They will search for natural explanations, trying to trace the roots of your transformation to something they can understand and replicate. Let them wonder. Your testimony is not in the explaining, but in the living. As you walk in what I provide, your life becomes a living epistle that skeptics struggle to discount. There will come a moment, perhaps sooner than you expect, when you realize the shift has already begun. It might arrive as you pour your morning coffee, the liquid catching light in a way that suddenly seems significant, or in the middle of an ordinary conversation, when words flow from your mouth carrying wisdom you did not know you possessed. These are the first tremors of transformation, subtle as a butterfly landing, but as real as thunder. The spiritual realm sees you differently now. Where once shadows clung to your edges, light begins to emanate, not the harsh glare of self-promotion, but the gentle radiance of one who has been in my presence. Angels take notice, adjusting their positions, preparing for increased activity around your life. The enemy's agents pull back, recognizing a shift in authority they cannot contest. You are moving from being merely protected to being equipped, from surviving to thriving, from defense to advancement. This is not just about your comfort, beloved one. There are territories waiting for your footprint, atmospheres that will shift when you enter them. Destinies hanging in the balance until you speak the words only you can speak. Remember this when abundance comes. It is not your gripping that keeps it, but your gratitude. Open hands receive more readily than clenched fists. What I pour into your life is meant to flow, to move, to bless beyond your immediate circle. You are becoming a distribution center for heaven's resources. The enemy will attempt one final deception as breakthrough approaches. He will whisper that you do not deserve what is coming, that your past disqualifies you from such blessing. When that voice speaks, remember that my gifts have never been about deserving. If they were, no human hand would ever hold them. My blessings flow from my nature, not your perfection. Stand ready, beloved one. Position yourself like one expecting guests of honor. Prepare your heart's home for the treasures about to arrive. Clear out the clutter of old mindsets that insist scarcity is safer than abundance. Make room for the new, even before you can see its shape on the horizon. Feel the weight of this preparation, like a gardener tilling soil before planting season. Each old belief you release creates space for new growth. Every fear you surrender becomes fertile ground for faith. This clearing is not loss but sacred making. Room, the necessary emptying before the filling can begin. Around you, though invisible to natural eyes, preparations accelerate. Angels adjust their positions, moving into formation like musicians before a symphony's first note. The atmosphere itself responds to what approaches, molecules of possibility rearranging themselves to accommodate the magnitude of coming change. Creation leans forward, expectant, aware that something significant is about to unfold. In distant places, people you have never met feel sudden stirrings to pray for someone they cannot name. Your breakthrough is being supported by an orchestra of intercession you didn't know existed. Strangers become allies in the spirit, their faith adding velocity to your miracle. This is how heaven networks, connecting hearts across miles and circumstances, weaving a tapestry of support beneath those about to step into destiny. The training ground of your trials has produced in you qualities that ease could never cultivate. Patience carved deep by waiting, faith strengthened by storms, compassion born from your own encounters with pain. These are not scars but credentials, qualifications for the influence you are about to carry. What enemy meant for destruction I have transformed into distinction. Your voice carries new frequencies now. Words that once fell flat will land with impact. Prayers that seemed to hit brass ceilings will pierce through to throne rooms. This is not because you have become more eloquent, but because you have been seasoned by surrender. Authority flows not from perfection but from position, and you are positioned now in the center of my will. The pen that writes your story remains in my hand. The chapters of struggle have served their purpose, developing character and depth that ease could never produce. But I am not an author who delights in endless conflict. Resolution approaches, and with it the sweet satisfaction of promises fulfilled. Your part is simpler than you have imagined. Believe. Speak what I speak. Walk through the doors I open. Remain grateful. Share generously. These are not complex requirements designed to trip you up. They are invitations to partnership, opportunities to participate in the unfolding of heaven's intent in your life. Soon, sooner than your mind dares to hope, you will look back on this moment of reading and recognize it as the hinge point. The moment when everything began to shift, when the tide that had pulled out for so long finally turned and began its inevitable return, when promise moved from future possibility to present reality. Feel it even now, beloved one. The subtle shift in atmospheric pressure around your life. Like the moments before a storm, but this storm brings not destruction but refreshing. The very molecules of air around you are rearranging, making space for what approaches. Your spirit senses it before your mind can process it. That ancient knowing that transcends logic, whispering, something is changing. In the corridors of heaven, preparations intensify. Assignments are being given to messengers who will cross your path with exactly what you need. Some will appear as strangers whose casual words unlock doors you have been pushing against for years. Others will come as opportunities dressed in ordinary clothing, their significance only revealed in hindsight. Still others will manifest as ideas that arrive fully formed, solutions that seem so obvious you will wonder why they never occurred to you before. The marking upon your life is becoming visible in the spirit realm, where once you moved unnoticed, now there is recognition. It appears as a luminescence, a signature of favor that causes both light and darkness to take notice. This is not celebrity or earthly fame I speak of, but spiritual distinction. You are being set apart, not set above, prepared, not privileged, commissioned, not merely comfortable. Your dreams will begin to carry different frequencies. Where nightmares once played their repetitive loops of fear, visions of purpose will take stage. You will wake with fragments of insight clinging to consciousness like morning dew. Write them down. These breadcrumbs from heaven's table. They map the territory you are about to enter. I have spoken these things not to tease you with what might be, but to prepare you for what already is in realms invisible to your eyes. The transfer has already been authorized. The resources have been allocated. The connections have been arranged. Heaven waits only for earth to catch up, for your faith to create landing strips where blessing can touch down. My beloved child, you have carried burdens that were never yours to bear. You have apologized for taking up space that I specifically carved out for you. You have made yourself small, thinking humility required invisibility. But I created you to shine, not as arrogance, but as evidence of what my love can do with surrendered humanity. The sunrise you see tomorrow will carry more than light. It will carry confirmation of everything I have spoken. Watch for the signs, subtle at first, like the initial notes of a symphony that builds to crescendo. An unexpected message, a door that suddenly unlocks, a burden that simply lifts without explanation. These are the advance echoes of the abundance approaching. Trust me with your tomorrows. I have never failed to complete what I begin. The God who started this good work in you is the same God who will perfect it. Not because you are perfect, but because I am faithful. Not because you have earned it, but because I have promised it, and my promises are more certain than gravity, more reliable than sunrise, more enduring than the mountains that seem so permanent. The story I am writing with your life will inspire generations you will never meet. They will read of your journey from scarcity to abundance, from fear to faith, from isolation to influence, and they will find hope for their own midnight seasons. Your breakthrough becomes their possibility. Your testimony becomes their faith's foundation. Stay close to me as these changes unfold. Success can be as challenging to navigate as struggle if you attempt it alone. But with my hand guiding yours, you will steward abundance with the same grace that sustained you through absence. You will wear blessing like a garment tailored specifically for you, neither too tight with pride nor too loose with false humility. Remember always that what comes to you comes through nail-scarred hands. It has been purchased at a price you did not pay, secured by love you did not earn. This keeps gratitude flowing when circumstances might tempt you toward entitlement. This maintains perspective when elevation might encourage amnesia about the valley seasons. My child, the waiting is ending. The door stands open. The table is prepared. The celebration has already begun in heaven, anticipating your arrival at the place I have prepared. Step forward with confidence, not in yourself but in the one who calls you. Your season of abundance is not approaching, it has arrived. Walk in it, live it, share it, for this is your time, and I am with you in it all. See it now in your mind's eye, this door I speak of. Not a metaphor wrapped in mystery, but as real as your next breath. It stands before you, ancient wood carved with the stories of all who passed through before. Your hand reaches for the handle, worn smooth by countless pilgrims who discovered what waited beyond. The metal is warm to your touch, pulsing with invitation. As you push it open, light spills out, not blinding but welcoming, like sunrise after the longest night. The air that meets you carries fragrance, bread baking, flowers blooming, rain on good soil, all the scents of life abundant. Your first step through feels like coming home to a place you have never been but always belonged. Inside, the landscape of your new season unfolds, tables laden with provision not just for you but for the multitudes you will feed. Rooms filled with resources, tools perfectly crafted for hands you didn't know were skilled, windows opening onto vistas of possibility that stretch beyond imagination's borders. This is not fantasy, beloved one. This is the reality I have prepared while you waited in the hallway of preparation. Others are already gathering, drawn by the light emanating from your transformed life. They arrive hungry, desperate for hope, carrying their own midnight questions. But now you have bread to share, oil for their lamps, words that resurrect dead dreams. What was done for you, you now do for others. The blessed becomes the blessing. The healed becomes the healer. The found becomes the finder of the lost. Watch how naturally it flows, this new life of abundance. No striving, no desperate grasping, no anxious calculating. Like a river that has finally broken through the dam, provision flows in its intended course. What seemed impossible in the desert of lack becomes inevitable in the garden of my presence. Your children will tell stories of this transformation. How the parent who once worried through sleepless nights became a beacon of peace. How lax vocabulary was replaced with gratitude's grammar. How the atmosphere of your home shifted from surviving to thriving, from fear to faith, from shadows to light. This is your moment, beloved one. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. The pen of history poised to write the chapter where everything changed, where heaven invaded earth through the willing vessel of your surrendered life, where the promises spoken in darkness finally danced in the light. Step through, my child. Step through and do not look back. The door is open, the feast is prepared, and I am waiting to celebrate with you the abundance that has always been your birthright as my beloved child.